Welcome to the very best show on the internet. Yes, you are here with the kernels of truth. Tonight, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. This week, Doug is bringing us a deep dive on the Kraft campaign crash as the GOP governor's race heads into the final days. Then we are very excited to bring on Michael Bowman, the Democratic candidate for state treasurer. We'll check in on how his statewide campaign is shaping up and whether or not folks will be able to vote for him on May the 16th. And also, I want to say this, but first, number one thing, first. Are you ready to help turn Kentucky blue? Of course you are. We know right now that our state is deeply red with a GOP supermajority committed to punching down on trans kids, making all abortions illegal, cutting taxes for the rich, and cutting services for the poor. If you want a commonwealth that works for all of us, join Progress Kentucky and support our campaign to go ahead and turn our state blue. Make a donation right now at our Secure Act Blue website and spread the word that we are definitely tired of the GOP ignoring the needs of regular folks in Kentucky. And we know that the Commonwealth is worth fighting for, and I know that you feel that way too. Tonight, Aaron Viles, your normal host, is out for the night. He will be returning next week, and I am Kimberly Cecil Jones. So right now, we're going to check in with our co-host tonight and let us know who and where you are and what does your protest sign say today? Oh, yeah, you. Talking to you. While you're there on the internet, why don't you just go ahead and read what your sign says? Put it in the chat while we're sharing ours. And mine definitely says today, hashtag life is too short. Congress, do something better about life. And the reason why I say that, I'm coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky, known as Jefferson County. And yes, we are in mourning here in Louisville, Kentucky. A lot of us probably lost money on the Kentucky Derby, which you probably saw on the NBC Sports on Saturday. And the winner, Madge, won. And they don't know if Madge is going to go to the Preakness yet. And then we are also in mourning right now for a great basketball legend, Denny Crum. He passed away yesterday. So our condolences go to all of his friends and family for the legendary Denny Crum. So, Doug, tell me, what does your sign say today? Is it better than mine?
I have a couple things I want to say. First, Doug Price from Harrison County, Kentucky. And I have a sign, but I want to say something about Denny Crum. Denny Crum and Joe Hall were like, they fought against each other every time they played basketball. But then later on, there was a show called the Joe and Denny, or the Denny and Joe show, and they had a great time together. I wish our Democrats and Republicans could do the same. My sign says, I guess this is a protest sign because not that many people vote. People just don't vote. And what I'm saying is now, vote. Win on May the 16th. Let's vote, people. Chris, what about you?
Hey, everybody. I'm over here in Berea, Kentucky, the great little blue dot that we are. And my protest sign says, grab them by the money. I'm sure you probably heard about the news of Donald Trump having to pay out, what was it, $5 or $6 million? And he is liable and has to register as a sexual predator. And so, and there's been some other exciting news on the money front. You know, Fox had to give up nearly $1 billion of money to Dominion voting systems, and there's another suit that they're probably going to have to shell out more money for related to the same stuff. And so, all these shenanigans, all this vile and bad things that are happening. Our justice system takes a long time to really enact what's going on. Oh, and speaking of our justice system, oh gosh, I forgot his name. U.S. representative from New York was indicted. Santos, the extreme liar. So if you haven't read about Santos before, he is off the rails, like lying about many aspects of a personal life, everything. He seems like a compulsive liar. And so he is indicted on a lot of like money charges and things. So our justice system is alive and healthy. It just takes it a little bit of time.
Healthy? Did you just say healthy?
Yeah, it may have a cold, but I think
No, it's got the pandemic. Let me tell you something. The justice system, yeah, some people get caught and some people are not treated fairly. But you know what? I get what you're saying, and so glad to see Donald Trump with his lion tail finally is known for the predator that he is. And yeah, grab him by the money. I wish he would have grabbed me by something so I could have got some money. How about Dougie Fresh? Y'all know
All
I
right, I
love
think
Doug
it's time for
Price.
me to go. I think it's time for me to go into my story.
Yes, it is. But I want to ask you one quick question, if I
Yes,
may.
ma'am.
You
Yes.
said vote on May the 16th. Does it appear to you this year that a lot of people don't even know that it's time to vote? Does it seem a little quiet out there as far as the campaign trails, or are we just kind of saving up and nurturing our energy for after the primary?
Well, I think a lot of people are nurturing their energy for after the primary, and most everybody who really cares are really concerned about who's going to win the Republican gubernatorial primary. I think that's going to be fascinating to watch, and I'm just glad that they spent a lot of time picking on each other because that gives the Bashir campaign more fodder for the fall.
Exactly. I always want an expert's answer like you just gave me. So I appreciate that. I just thought maybe I was thinking that way. So yeah, Doug, I know you being the policy wonk that you are, and we love you for it. What you got for us for the news of the week?
Sure. My segment tonight highlights a story about a Kentucky lantern. They produced some fascinating, well researched articles, so check them out. This is titled Money, Money, Money. I thought about asking our producer, Nate, to insert that little ditty in there, but I didn't. I thought we might have to pay something. But anyway, Money, Money,
I
Money
can do
related
it. I can do it.
related to the
Money,
Kraft
money,
campaign.
money, money.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Money. Money, 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 money. Okay, I'm finished.
Okay, well, that was a great rendition. I really appreciate that. Kelly Kraft strongly supports Kentucky coal. Her husband, Joe Kraft, is a billionaire owner of Alliance Resource Partners, which is described as the third largest producer of coal in the eastern United States. ARP operates Kentucky mines in Union, Hopkins, and Pike County. In October 2012, Mr. Kraft took the giving pledge, noting that he pledges to give the vast majority of my resources to philanthropic causes and charitable endeavors targeted to people and organizations that embrace individual responsibility, economic freedom, reducing poverty, and providing opportunities for those willing to chase the American dream. Kelly, meanwhile, is chasing her Kentucky dream of being governor, and so far, Mrs. Kraft has loaned her campaign committee close to $10 million to help achieve her dream. Joe gave an additional $1.5 million to a PAC that, according to the Kraft campaign, has nothing to do with the Kraft campaign. And I'm certain they didn't discuss this at the family table, although there is a campaign ad about their family table. Additionally, I want to tie the Kraft political donations with a recently passed law that appeared to help Kraft's company. Senator Robbie Mills, Republican from Henderson, who represents Hopkins County, where one of those mines is located, filed SB4 during the 2023 legislative session. The bill changed the requirements of shutting down coal generating facilities, essentially making electrical generating utilities continue to use cost ineffective older plants to generate electricity and use Kentucky coal. LG&E and KU and Duke Energy opposed the legislation, as did the Kentucky Association of Manufacturers, which stated this will lead to higher electricity costs and increasing costs passed on to the consumer. I found this interesting tidbit from a website called Seeking Alpha, a firm that offers investment advice. ARP has been diversifying away from coal by using its excess free cash flow to purchase oil and gas royalty assets, but is still tied to coal for the bulk of its revenues. While discussing the legislation, Senator Mills noted a non-existent problem when asked about the legislation that had related to oil and gas. I would note that the Kentucky Coal Association supported, and one would think so did the Crafts. So I took a look at information from the Kentucky Registry of Election Finance. In 2022, Joe and Kelly Kraft gave $2,000 each to Senator Mills and an additional 17 other people, mostly legislators. Of those legislators, 13 voted for SB4 and 3 against. For individual donations, $2,000 is a limit, but the limit increases to $5,000 for executive committee / caucus campaign committees. Here are some totals related to the up to 5K giving of the Crafts. A total of $10,000 to the Kentucky Senate Republican Caucus Campaign Committee, $10,000 to the Kentucky State Republican Executive Committee. Joe gave $2,000 to the Henderson County Executive Committee. Did Senator Mills take credit for this one? Kelly gave $5,000 to the Kentucky House Republican Caucus Campaign Committee. The bottom line is that the Crafts are willing to spend an inordinate amount of money to win the Republican nomination to run against Governor Beshear in November. We will know in just under a week whether this worked. One last observation. I just saw this earlier today. Kraft may be very intelligent, but seemingly needs more debate prep when speaking in public. Surely she did not mean these statements. Under a Kraft-wise administration, we will not have transgenders in our school system. And she followed that up with, under a Kraft-wise administration, we will not have transgender. I plan to do a Doug Price is Right segment on inflows and outflows to some of these caucus campaign committees. Would individual givers be surprised to learn that funds you donate to your candidate also end up being donated by candidates into caucus committees? That's my report, and I welcome any comments on what I've just said.
I'm appalled by the statement of there will be no transgender under her administration. Like, that's like saying there's not going to be trees in the wilderness. No mushrooms are going to grow this year, or whatever. Like, we're talking about people whoever they are, and just because they try to suppress them and keep them, in a closet or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not there. That, wow.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to say.
And I'm never at a loss for words, but I am tonight, most definitely. She meant what she said. That is one of the Republicans' talking points. Um, and she's just falling right in line, sitting high on the hill, looking down on everyone else. Sometimes people don't understand anything until it actually happens to them. And so apparently she doesn't know any transgenders or any children that are struggling right now. And it appears to me that she doesn't even care. But I will say, and I've said every week, I think she is a big fan and spends a lot of money on lip fillers and Botox. Being a previous makeup artist for many, many years, I know when you got some fillers and a little touch up here and there. She goes to the extreme with that, as well as she goes to the extreme in the views that she carries on to the general public. I really don't want to hear anything else that comes out of her mouth, because it would be spewing evil and hate. And these are the type of things that we are trying to conquer day by day, step by step here in the Commonwealth. So, that's my thought for that, Doug. Always a great story, always well researched, and we appreciate that bringing us up to date on what's going on. Chris, I understand that you have equally important story to share with us for the news of the week, and I want to tell people, if they didn't see it from the beginning, we are talking about news of the week. WEAK, not the WEEK, the WEAK. These people are weak. They are very, very weak, and they are afraid to speak out for the majority because they're so weak in their views. It's all about the money, 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 money.
Yeah, it sure is. And this next story that I'm going to talk about is this person is also a gubernatorial candidate on the Republican side. One who is our current Attorney General, Mr. Daniel Cameron, who is in Mitch McConnell's back pocket. And he made some news today, and this story was reported by the Kentucky Lantern as well, as they do excellent reporting. That Cameron made an apparent strategic calculation to withhold the notice of transfer until after the hearing on the motion of a temporary restraining order and temporary injunction, and after briefing of the motion was complete. And this is related to a case related with KEA, so Kentucky Education Association. The court, or if the court were to transfer the case before the motion of the temporary restraining order, the temporary injunction is decided, it may lead to significant additional delays, and during which plaintiffs will continue to suffer irreparable harm. And so this is a new law that is being invoked by Cameron and was enacted by our current Republican-controlled legislature, even though our Andy Beshear vetoed the bill. The supermajority of Republicans in the House and Senate overrode the veto. And what this law is doing is it is not allowing unions to take their dues from payroll. So, just taking it off the payroll is a really easy way to collect dues for the people who said it's okay to, yeah, go ahead, take that, just take that off my paycheck. I don't have to worry about it. I do that, as a teacher, and I contribute to KEA. And so now, without that, then I have to actively go and do another step or two. And, that may seem small, but I mean, we're busy. We get distracted by things. And when it's not very easy, that means that it's, that they're going to get less revenue to fight for us. And the Republicans are just trying to make it, inching forward harder for us to collectively come together and put our money in one pot. What little that we generally have as we just try to survive, and so they're just making it harder for our unions to really take the money that we intend for them to get and represent us. and push back on their ridiculous policies. And so this is just yet another inching uh, nail in the back of unions, and also just continued harm by the GOP on regular folks and us trying to have a voice to fight back. What do you all think?
Well, as I understand, and you may have said this, and I may have been spaced out, but as I sometimes do, as I understand, you're not required to say you're going to take money out of your paycheck. You have to opt in to do that. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, so the only thing that makes sense is they don't want the Republican-controlled legislature doesn't want that money flowing, because it's just like you said, there are a lot of you that will remember, this will make you mad, I would think, and you'll want to make sure that you send that check in. But it's easy. It comes out of your check before you receive your funds. So yeah. And the other aspect of it, this new law allows judge shopping. As far as I'm concerned, the Deputy Attorney General Vic Maddox said in the case that he argued for the change of venue law, saying it allows lawsuit participants to avoid biased judges by directing a court case be moved. So, they don't want it to go to a biased judge. They want to get a judge that they think is, well, apparently they think some judges are biased, and the judges that they seek to have are not biased.
Right. They're seeking a bias, just on their side, instead of maybe someone who is maybe not biased, or someone who, may be biased towards the other side. Yeah.
Right.
I want to say this. I'm never surprised, most definitely never surprised about Daniel Cameron or the Republicans that we have here in Kentucky. Um, it's a mob of people, human beings, that choose to take everything away from everyone. Let me tell you something. When it comes out of your check, you don't even think about it anymore. So, a lot of people are going to remember their mortgage payment, rent payments. They're going to remember to pay the daycare, which you can sometimes get taken out of your check as well. You get your medical insurance taken out of your check. If you want to give to Fund for the Arts, it comes out of your check. So, without unions and without that money, uh, they will cease to exist. And the Republicans, for decades, have tried to tear down the unions. And I tell you what, I think that the majority of people here in Kentucky are union proud. And I think if they really know what's going on, in addition to everything else, I think that they will stand up. And I think the Republicans will not have a choice. Um, and these judges, just God help them to make the right decisions, because being biased in the judicial process never ends up well for anyone, including the one that made the decision. So I just think that at this particular time, that more people need to know about this. I really didn't even know. I knew nothing of it. So today I have been informed, which I will tell people, but we need to be taking this episode tonight. Anybody that is looking, share it on your Facebook, share it on your Twitter, share it on YouTube, share it wherever you can share this information, because this is crucial to our entire country, not just here in Kentucky. This will seep over into the entirety of the United States, and it needs to be stopped now. But we need your help on that. We really do. So share this show tonight. Tell everyone you know. what's going on with the unions, especially talk to your family members and friends that are in unions and let them know they're trying to get rid of it. And once they get rid of it, employers could do whatever the ham sandwich they want to do with you. So let's make sure that we're all collectively doing that. Also, coming up is a Mr. Michael Bowman, but I just want to give a just real shout out right now to a great friend slash brother of mine, former senatorial candidate, Mike Breuer. We are so glad to have you with us tonight. And I know he will be sharing this out and getting the word to the people and the base that he had. Um, I'm very appalled about this. How can this happen? Chris, how can this happen?
I mean, they do. Wait, Mike brother in the house. Okay. I don't know. We all just need to go out and vote on May 16th. For the primary and make our voices heard, and then do it again in November, and keep going and voting for regular common sense folks that have love in their heart, not hate.
Yeah.
They have the supermajority, and until people get out and vote, remember, you got to vote primary May 16th, and then in the general election. Until we vote those people out and start putting in some people who truly care, as opposed to, I don't know, people who are anti-woke, they don't care for the common person. And that's why I don't understand why so many people don't vote, because if everybody voted, I guarantee you that we would see change.
I believe that, but I'm going to give you some words from a very, very prominent and famous preacher, pastor. I can't remember where he's from. He's not from Kentucky, but his name is Freddie Haynes. And he was in Louisville recently. And, he said two things that I loved. He said, first of all, don't spit on me and call it rain. That's number one. And number two, everybody's going to enjoy this. I'm too woke for the okie doke. Are we right? We are too woke for the okie doke. You can't pull all this stuff on me, spitting all on us and telling us it's rain. We got to get them up out of there. Look, if you don't go vote, you can't gripe. Y'all remember those billboards? They used to say, you don't vote, don't gripe. This is your
I'm
life
woke.
too. I know I
I'm woke.
vote. I got
I'm
two
woke.
hands up.
I'm woke, and I'm proud of it.
I vote and I woke. Let's go ahead and see if our friend Mr. Michael Bowman is ready, the Democratic candidate for treasurer. Yes. Michael Bowman, how are you tonight?
I am doing well. Thank you all for inviting me to join you all.
Yes, and I just want to tell everybody, because I'm so proud of you. He represents the Ville. We always keeping our L's up over here. And I was just telling our viewers right now, Michael, about our whole city is mourning right now for the passing of the great legendary basketball coach, Hall of Famer, and he brought the University of Louisville to the 1980 and the 1986 NCAA championship. And we're talking about Coach Denny Crum. So we just really feel we're feeling that. Am I right, Michael? Are we feeling that or what?
Anytime that we have someone who has contributed so much to not just Louisville, but Kentucky in general, I think it's when we lose somebody like that, we all should reflect on what they brought to make us better. And I think there's no doubt in my mind that his contributions to the sport of basketball certainly made Kentucky not just a one-trick pony. We certainly bring it to the court, and since then have had some amazing teams from other parts of the state too. So I think him and his predecessors and the other universities in Kentucky have all learned from what he was able to do here at Louisville.
Mm, 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 mm. If you ain't bleeding red, I don't know what's wrong with you. And that's the color of U of L. I'm a graduate. I'm sorry. But Michael, first of all, I want to ask you, and we're so proud and honored to have you on the show today. Thank you so very much. But tell us really, what is a treasurer's role? What function and service does it perform for our Commonwealth? And why do you want the job?
So absolutely. The treasurer is one of the original constitutional offices in Kentucky. You are the taxpayer's watchdog, the chief financial officer for the state. You're ensuring that we're doing what we're supposed to do with our tax dollars. And to have that person be someone who's not only cognizant of that, but actually qualified and trained to do it. As far as why I want to do this is working for the better part of a decade at the Louisville Metro Council, working in local government, years working as a bank officer and branch manager for one of the largest banks in the country, and then also serving in Governor Beshear's administration, overseeing federal grants through the Education and Labor Cabinet, and a wide variety of workforce development programs across the state. I am the only candidate in this race on either side of the aisle that has the experience that would be necessary for the treasurer's job on day one. I think something most people don't even know is that we have not had a treasurer in nearly 40 years that has had any type of formal education or professional training in finance. And I think we can all agree that that is something that would be important to the treasurer's office, not only for the purpose of balancing the state's checkbook, but as treasurer, you sit on boards and commissions that drive a lot of policy in the state. As Chris mentions, as a teacher, the teachers' retirement pension board is the treasurer sits as vice chair. The Kentucky Investment Commission, the treasurer chairs that committee. So you can drive a lot of policy in those positions as well that really can make impacts on people across Kentucky. If we don't have individuals that understand how to make appropriate investments, what it means, how to get the best returns for our tax dollars, what we're doing is we're leaving money on the table, a table that unfortunately it's, in Kentucky, we have to ensure that every penny goes to what we need it to go to. We are not the richest state in the union, unfortunately, and we have to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what limited resources we have. And having somebody that really can go in on day one and be able to work towards those goals, I think is going to be important. And beyond that, we have a lot of problems here in terms of how we build an economy that not only serves the people here today, but our future generations. We need to ensure that we're teaching our children how to be financially literate. We certainly have programs in place now. The legislature has finally passed a requirement before you can graduate high school that you pass a financial literacy course, but we've no established curriculum. And like most things that come out of a Republican legislature, they don't want to fund it. So we have to find ways to ensure that we are making the biggest impact we can on our children on how to be financially literate. And then once they know how to do what they're supposed to do with their money, provide the opportunities in Kentucky for them to be able to make that money. I think we see a lot of our children leave the state because there are better opportunities in other places, and very rarely do they return. So to ensure that not only can we teach them what they need to know, but that we have the opportunities here in Kentucky for them to be able to stay here and raise their own families. And I think that is something that's going to be important as we look towards the next 4 years, the next decade, of how we move Kentucky in the right direction in those respects. And I'm qualified to do that. So,
Well, I know that Dougie Fresh has a question. I
Sure,
know
let me
he
jump
has.
in.
Hmm.
Is ESG the biggest threat to capitalism we've ever experienced? And why is the current treasurer using it as a boogeyman?
It is not the biggest threat. I think the ESG, for those who don't know, are principles that are used in how investments are made. Stands for environmental concerns, S is for social, and G is for governance, which means the structure of the company that we're investing in. So when you hear people talk about ESG and how it is some quote unquote woke ideology, what it really is we're not going to invest in companies that don't take those types of things into consideration anymore. So if you hear any of my opponents or Republicans writ large talk about how ESG is destroying our opportunity and potential to make money, what they're basically telling you is that it's okay to pollute the environment, that it's okay to treat your employees like garbage, and it's okay for us not to hold the leadership of these companies accountable just to make a buck. And when we're looking at the fiduciary responsibility of an individual, when you make investments, it's to ensure that not only are we getting returns on that investment, but that we're doing it in a responsible way. When you look at what's happening in Eastern Kentucky with respect to the flooding, how much of that has been through irresponsible mining over the years, companies that have literally left the residents of Eastern Kentucky holding the bag when it comes to how those operations have impacted the environment around them and created these ecological disasters that now we have to fit the bill to be able to take care of. And those are the long-term goals of ESG, to ensure that we're not just looking for the quick buck, that we're making sure that we are being sustainable in how we invest our money going forward. You see companies across the country that have adopted these principles, and we understand that coal and gas and those other types of fossil fuels are certainly a part of our economy, and for the near term at least, they're not going to go anywhere. But we need to see that these companies are making strides in ensuring that, one, that they are doing the right things for their people, that they are able to hold themselves accountable at the top level of their leadership, and that they're not doing things that unduly hurt the environment without them taking steps to mitigate that damage. So that's what ESG stands for, and that's why it is not a bad thing. And anyone who tells you it is basically wants to say that we're okay with pollution, we're okay with not being good to our employees, and we're okay with letting billionaire CEOs off the hook. And I don't think that there is anyone in Kentucky, say for the very top 1%, that thinks that any of those things, that holding those people accountable and taking those steps is a bad thing.
And I think this ties in with their the woke ideology that the Republicans are pushing and saying how awful it is that you're going to make investments in ESG areas when, it's all subterfuge as far as I'm concerned. They're just playing to, in my opinion, playing to the Trump crowd. And if I were a politician, I just don't think I could do that. I think you would hear what I thought rather than what I thought you wanted to hear.
And I think something to also consider is that this isn't the Republicans, what we've seen over the last, especially the last 10 years, the emphasis on the culture wars, ensuring they don't bring anything to the table that actually solves problems that people are really concerned about. We hear about some of the one of the top Republican gubernatorial candidates constantly talks about her kitchen table, but I think what she's failing to realize is that people are more concerned about being able to put food on that table. They're not worried about whether or not there are transgendered individuals that live among us. They do. That's a fact. They are not concerned with whether or not the incremental income tax, that the reduction that we're seeing that's going to blow billions of dollars of a hole in our annual state budget, the impacts of those services that these families are going to rely on, that have come to rely on, especially when we have underserved and unserved communities across Kentucky, and we are looking at the potential of having to do without billions of dollars of funding that go to serve these constituencies. I think that's something that we are looking when we see that is what the Republicans, that's all they're about. And this is just another 3-letter acronym for them to do a 10-second soundbite to scare people. They don't think that a lot of people will actually look up what ESG means. They think that a lot of people will misunderstand, they misunderstand what CRT is. And honestly, the fact that we don't even do CRT classes or anything in any level from 1st to 12th grade, that's something that's reserved for college courses. And that's what they bank on, is that people are uninformed about what's going on, and so they use that to use it as a wedge issue during a campaign. And all it does is hurt us, because it takes us away from having the real conversations we need about how we can move Kentucky forward by making sure that we have the revenue we need for the services and programs that we have to be able to make Kentucky competitive across the country. If we're taking money away from schools, then that means we are not spending it on our children to teach them what they need to know to move into the future. And this, at the end of the day, is, my role as the treasurer would be one of a handful of people elected statewide in state government. It puts me in a position to advocate for that and to have a Democratic governor that I can work with to get these types of things done. And we've seen consistently the Republican legislature undermine not only the accountability, but the transparency of what they do. And we really have to have executive officers in Frankfort that are willing to step up and ensure that the people of Kentucky knows what's going on in their government.
I agree with that. Chris, you have a question.
I just a comment. So, like, every time we talk about GOP candidates and or actual politicians, I always come back to this imagery of a fox in a hen house campaigning that they will stop the moles from stealing the chickens' eggs.
And you're right. I mean, it's we've seen time and again. Just as I've said, they don't bring anything to the table. We have a lot of talk about kitchen tables, but nothing actually being brought to it. So we're in a position now where we have a Democratic governor in Andy Beshear, who has done consistently the right things for Kentuckians from top to bottom. He's made no qualms about the fact that if a decision he's made that either saves lives or moves Kentucky in a better direction costs him his reelection, then so be it. Because he knows at the end of the day he's going to do the right thing. And I think that is something that honestly, the people of Kentucky have rewarded him for that. We see consistently his approval rating in the 60s. So, and he is the most popular Democratic governor in the country. And this is in a red state. So it tells you that the people of Kentucky know a good thing when they see it. And once they know that, they're willing to support that person and the decisions that they make in these offices. And that's something that my goal is over the next 5-6 months, to ensure that people know that I am the most qualified person to be treasurer of the Commonwealth, that I know what I'm doing when it comes to making sure that we're accounting for our tax dollars and investing our money wisely. And the only thing that the opposition has to offer are consistent attacks on whole marginalized sections of our communities, and to divert attention away from the fact that they have their hand in the cookie jar.
I do have 2 questions for you. If you were to become treasurer, hopefully, how could you help us transition for the bill that was just passed for medical cannabis? Like, how would your position, you be able to help assist that transition as we get more access to those sorts of things for people who need it for medical purposes? And 2, how are you going to be able to help us be more resilient to climate change in your position?
Well, to answer the first question, it's been incredible to see Governor Beshear finally get the passage of medical marijuana here in Kentucky. I think for my position as treasurer would be to ensure that we're cutting out as much of the red tape as possible to make it available widely across the state. As we all know, it is still a heavily regulated drug at the federal level. and we can do what we can to change the laws with respect to that and how we're able to, with respect to the banking system specifically. But whatever we can do here at the state level, remove as many obstacles as possible, do an evaluation, which the law calls for, to ensure that we're not doing it inappropriately, that we're maintaining our observance of the law, but cutting out any red tape that would prevent us from being able to implement that quickly. With respect to climate change, the ESG principles are probably the most visible example of that. As treasurer sitting in on the Kentucky Investment Commission, ensuring that we're making proper, appropriate investments, being fiduciarily responsible for how we invest our money, and that we're doing it in a way that keeps those types of concerns at top of mind. And it does us no good to invest in a company that's only going to ruin the beauty that Kentucky offers. And I think that's anybody at the state level should be cognizant of when they make those types of decisions.
I do know that people can most definitely help your campaign. It's in the comments down below, and it's also Bowman for Kentucky, and that's BOWMAN FOR Kentucky, KENTUCKY. That's bowmanforkentucky.com. Once again, bowmanforkentucky.com. Wonder why I'm saying it so many times, because it takes money, and we've been talking about money all night long. It takes money to keep these campaigns going, and every candidate needs money to keep it going.
Absolutely.
So please support Michael Bowman for that. I also want to ask you, I don't know how the rumor mill goes, and I really don't pay a lot of attention to it. So I just decide I'm going to ask, are you going to be on the ballot for May the 16th? And is there a contested primary for treasurer?
So I will not be on the ballot on May 16th. I am unopposed in the primary. Any candidate, and that may be something, Kimberly, that you mentioned earlier in the podcast, that we just don't have a lot of people paying attention to the fact that we actually vote next week. And I think a lot of that has to do with, out of the 6 races on the ballot, 4 of them are uncontested on the Democratic side. So you don't have the traditional barrage of candidates across the state that you're hearing from, because Pam Stevenson is our nominee for Attorney General. Buddy Wheatley is our nominee for Secretary of State. And Kim Reeder is our nominee for State Auditor. And I am the nominee for State Treasurer. So only the governor, who has some opposition in the primary, and the Commissioner of Agriculture are contested races. And so because of that, we won't be on the ballot. So the 4 offices that I mentioned were unopposed won't be on the ballot. You will still be able to vote for your Democratic nominee for governor and Commissioner of Agriculture. But all of us automatically go to the general election in November. So that's part of the reason why you don't see a huge amount of focus, at least with respect to the Democratic candidates, because our campaigns haven't had to be out there and visible like the Republican candidates have had to be. And that's kind of where we're at with that. But it is still important. May 16th, you still have the potential to let your voice be heard on whether or not you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. There are potentially some things that you may need to vote for, and I think that's something that still bears to make sure that we let people know and understand that voting does happen next week. Next Tuesday, polls open from 6 to 6. We do have early voting that kicks off tomorrow through to Saturday. You need to check with your local counties to see where those early voting locations are, and exercise your right. And thank you also for bringing up the website, bowmanforkentucky.com. As you mentioned, these campaigns, Kentucky is a deceptively large state. It takes you about 9 hours to get from end to end. So when we're talking about reaching everybody that we can, it's important that we, get people plugged in, volunteers, obviously contributing to the campaign. I'm not going to be like the governor. I won't have that natural media attention that gets shown on him every day. So I really have to double down and work hard and make sure that my message gets out, and it requires the help of individuals like you and others that have chipped in and really helped us out here to continue to do that through to November.
Okay, so before you go, Michael, you have to join us in a song.
Okay.
Did Doug just put his hand on his head? Dougie Fresh. I don't know why Aaron lets me be the host, honey, because it's gonna be off the chain. Okay. So we're gonna sing the money song, okay? But we're gonna bring Michael in on it, okay? And this needs to be your song that you're playing when you do your little rallies and everything. Okay, on the count of 3. 1. Dougie Fresh, you got to join in now. Got to join it, Chris.
Oh, you know I am.
Okay.
I'm there.
Michael. Michael. I was sounding like
do
somebody mama. Okay.
Let's do
1, 2, 3. Money, 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 money. Money. Money, 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 money. Money.
Thank you.
Chris is getting ready to make it rain. Michael Bowman, thank you for sharing your busy schedule with us. Anything that we can do, because we really want to help you, okay?
Well, I appreciate that. And, like I said, it's getting the word out, chipping into the campaign, volunteering in your respective communities and counties. That's going to be the important thing. It takes a lot. And I appreciate you all having me on. Thanks.
And I will see you on June the 2nd.
Absolutely.
Bye. Mr. Michael Bowman, our next treasurer of Kentucky. How you like that, everybody? I think he's wonderful and he's great. Now, Chris is going to be doing our call to action, which is extremely important. So take it away, Chris.
Hold on. I got to find it here. Call to action. Send Bob Saint to Frankfort, Senate District 28. It's a special election to replace Ralph Alvarado. Early voting starts now, May 11th, 12th, and 13th, and then on May 16th. So cash calls, canvassing, help Bob Saint to get him to Frankfort. And his website is saintforkentucky.com, and Saint is SAINTEFOR Kentucky.com. And I want to emphasize again, early voting, May 11th, that's tomorrow, 12th and 13th, and then again on the 16th. So get out there and vote.
That's right,
Kimberly?
Chris. Tell them, exercise your right. People have struggled. People have died. People have gone through everything to make sure that you can vote. Get these people out of here. Like, throw them out. Like, we could do that. We could throw them out. It's not that hard, ladies and gentlemen, to have your voice heard. So I'm going to give the disclaimer first. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement, otherwise known as CAVE. And we are also proud members of the Forward Kentucky Network. Our goal, Progress Kentucky, that is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. So guess what? Make sure you join us next week when we will be joined by my big sister and also your representative, Representative Colonel Pamela Stevenson. She is the Democratic candidate for Attorney General, which she will be absolutely great. She will be joining us on May the 17th, and we will continue to invite candidates as we go along to the general election in November. So production of episode 112 this evening was by Nate Orshan. Orshan? When'd your name become Orshan? Orshan. Okay. Thank you, Nate Dogg. I love to call him Nate Dogg for the theme songs. And you can find more information. Here's some of his songs. Yes, am I going to say it every week? Yes, I will, because you need to be on that website listening to his songs, and you can reach him at natosongs.com, and that's Nato songs.com. And if you miss our weekly live stream, do not fret, my pet. You can rewatch us, all of our shows, and see our source links on Facebook and in the comments. And if you cannot look at us, well, you can surely hear us, and we're available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. Some logo and graphic content was provided by Couchfire Media. Yes, that's couchfiremedia.com. You know, we've had a great show with Mr. Michael Bowman, with Chris Reese and Dougie Fresh, Doug Price, and great production by Nate Orshan tonight, whom I call Nate Dogg. So look, you've made it. It's Wednesday. You made it over the hump. You don't have much longer to go. So as you continue your week and on this journey, make sure you do something nice for someone. Not only will you make them feel great, you will feel amazing. I promise you that. I give you my stamp of approval and tell you that I promise that. So make sure you join us next week on Wednesday, same bat channel, same bat time. That's right, same bat channel, same bat time. And until then, much ado to you, and have a great and wonderful rest of your week.